Hello and welcome to today's oXygen webinar. My name is George Bina and I invited my colleague Alex Gitianu to present this webinar, which focuses on DITA reuse functionality. This is the second webinar in the DITA series that we scheduled. The first one was about a month ago, getting started with DITA, which is, if you missed that, it is available recorded either on our YouTube oXygen XML channel, or you can find that also on the events page on our website. We will also record this webinar, and the recording will be made available after the session, as well as the slides, and sometimes we make available also sample files used during the session. If you have any questions, please use the questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface, or you can also use Twitter and mark your questions with the oXygen XML hashtag. We will also monitor that channel as well. And also you can ask questions anytime during the webinar. You don't need to wait until the end of the presentation. We'll have a dedicated session at the end where we go through the questions and provide answers. But as I mentioned, you can ask questions as we go. We have 6 of my colleagues from oXygen online and ready to answer your questions. That being said, I will allow Alex to start today's session. Alex?
Thank you, George. Welcome. Thank you all for attending this webinar, which is our second from a series of webinars in which we present DITA concepts and how you can apply them in oXygen. In today's webinar, we will continue working on the mobile phone user guide that we've started in the first webinar, but this time we will focus on some reuse scenarios with emphasis on DITA 1.2 features. Now, I know that DITA 1.2 is not really new. I mean, DITA 1.3 has just been released, but a lot of people are still not using it. So that's why I want to emphasize on why and how its features are important, so that you understand what you might be missing. To begin with, here is the agenda for today's webinar. So like I said, a big feature in DITA is the ability to reuse. So we will begin with some reuse scenarios, and we will follow with conditional content and conditional publishing cases. Next, we'll see how we can control the values for our attributes through a subject scheme. And last but not least, we will introduce the indirection mechanism in DITA 1.2, basically working with keys. We will begin by working on a topic about how to insert the SIM card into our mobile phone. And obviously such a procedure begins by removing the battery, followed by the actual insertion of the SIM card, and ends with putting the battery back. As it happens, I already have topics about how to remove the battery and how to insert it back in. So let's reuse this content that we've already written. To reuse content inside oXygen, we will go on the toolbar and click on the Reuse Content action. The first thing we must do is to select the target topic, and you will automatically be presented with all the elements that can be reused from that topic. Basically all elements that have an ID associated with them. Next, you just select the element that you want to reuse. You can inspect in this preview area to be sure that you are reusing the correct element, and then all you have to do is press insert, and you have your first reused element. Another way you can reuse content, you can go in the target topic and you can just copy an element, and from the contextual menu, well, don't worry, I'm not going to paste it, that's not real reuse, but instead of that I'm going to choose paste as content reference, and I have a content reference inserted. Next, I will now there is a problem with the way I've reused these two steps, because if in the future someone goes into this topic about how to remove the battery and inserts an intermediate step that says remove the safety lock, you will notice that this intermediate step doesn't appear at all in our procedure about how to insert the SIM card, and it will not appear in the published output either. So to protect against these kind of situations, DITA 1.2 has introduced the content reference range feature. What differs with this content reference range is that you will specify the ID of the start element and an ID for the end element, and all elements in between this entire range will be pulled into your topic. So instead of reusing the steps individually like we have, let's use a content reference range instead. We'll delete these two steps and we'll go to the same action, reuse content, but this time we will make a selection. So we will select, the first selected element will be the start of the range, and the last will be the end of the range. And we insert it, and now please notice that the intermediate step has appeared in our topic 2. And if I go in the target topic and I remove this intermediate step, the moment I return to my other topic, the reference, you see, it's updated, and so will the publish output be. Next, let's put another step here saying insert the SIM card with the gold contacts facing down, and I also have an image that depicts how to insert the SIM card, so I will use drag and drop to insert it. Let's also change the placement so it looks better, and after that let's insert another content reference to the steps about how to insert the battery back. So we select the target topic, the one about inserting the battery, we make a selection from the first step to the last, and we click insert. Right. And now our topic is complete. Now there's one last thing that I want to mention here. So the content that is being reused is being rendered in oXygen with a gray background. And if you want to make a change in it and you just start typing, you'll notice a warning message that this is a read-only content. But what you must do in this situation is exactly what the tooltip says. You have to use the edit reference action in the contextual menu, and you will be taken into the target topic and you will be placed in exactly the same context, so you can begin making the changes right away. Right. So let's move forward. Complexity in my user manual is the fact that I have multiple phone models, and things are bound to differ from one model to the next. For example, the SIM placeholder changed from one model to the other, and also the Bluetooth feature is only available in one of my models. DITA has a built-in mechanism to express these differences, some special attributes that are called profiling attributes, which are a sort of a metadata for annotating elements. But before using these profiling attributes, we'll have to go to oXygen's preferences and configure them. For now, let's focus on the profiling attributes section. And let's create such a new profiling attribute. It should apply to DITA and DITA maps documents, so I'll use a wildcard here at the document type. And I will choose the product attribute. DITA offers a few of them. Like I said, you have product, platform, audience, but product is it's what I want. And the possible values for this attribute in my case are my phone models, so X1000, X2000, and X3000. Also, if your values are more cryptical, like acronyms or abbreviations, I recommend you to use a label, to specify a label, which will be a human-readable label that the user can understand more easily and can search by it. But in my case, the value is expressive enough, so I'll leave it like that. And now we can return to oXygen and start marking the differences between my models. So the first one was the placeholder for the SIM. So I will select the image, and from the contextual menu I'll choose the Edit Profiling Attributes action, and I'll say that this image is for the X1000 model, like so. Now apparently nothing changed, but if you go to the Attributes panel, you'll notice that the product attribute has been set to the X1000 value. And this brings a first requirement. When I look at the content, I would like to be able to understand from the first glance which content is profiled and for which model. And for that, I will activate the Show Profiling action from the toolbar here. And now you will notice that next to the image you will see a label that indicates that this image is profiled with a product attribute for the X1000 model. And not only does it give you this information, but if you click it, you'll get a chance to quickly change the profiling attribute. Now let's insert a new image for my X2000 model. Sorry. And let's change the placement for it too. And let's profile it as belonging to the X2000 model, like so. The next difference between my model is the fact that the Bluetooth is available only for the X2000 model. For that, I will go inside the DITA Maps Manager, and from the contextual menu, I'll choose Edit Properties, go to the Profiling tab, and mark the Bluetooth feature as belonging only to the X2000 model. Okay. You'll notice the same visual hint that these labels here in the DITA Maps Manager that tells you that this is a profile content and for which version. But there's another visual hint that you can activate to differentiate between profiled content, and that's the profiling color and styles. So this feature too can be activated from the toolbar, and if we activate it, you'll see that different background colors are used for differently profiled content. A yellow and a pink here, and the same styling is being used in the DITA Maps Manager. Now these settings are configurable from Preferences. So let's go to Preferences on the Color and Styles tab. And you see here that for an attribute, if it has a given value, I can choose between a foreground or a background or maybe another text decoration. So I can understand at a glance for which model that content is being profiled for. Another requirement that I have while working on my user manual is that sometimes I want to focus on the content for one particular model, for example for the X1000 model. So I want to see just that content. And to achieve that end, let's go again to Preferences. But this time, let's focus on the Profiling Condition Set section, the one on the bottom. And let's create a new condition set. And let's say that the content for my X1000 model is the one that has the product attribute set to the X1000 value. And the content for my X2000 model is the one that has the product attribute set to the X2000 value. Now, if we go again to the profiling menu from the toolbar, you'll notice that these condition sets that we've configured are now appearing here in this menu. And if I activate such a condition set, all the content that will not appear for that particular model is being faded out, both in the editor and in the DITA Maps Manager. And I can also choose to, if I deactivate the Show Excluded Content, that content will be hidden entirely, right? So now I can focus on the content that will get published in my user guide for my X1000 model. Right. Now that I've marked my content appropriate for each model, let's also publish our documentation for both of our models. And for that, normally in DITA, you use DITA val files, which are filtering files. And this is such a file. Basically, if I'm publishing for the X2000 model, I'm saying that it should exclude everything that is being profiled with a product attribute, and it has only the value x1000. So that's what a DITA val file basically is, some filtering information. And if you already have DITA projects, then you definitely have DITA val files. And in that case, it's worth mentioning that this entire configuration that we've performed inside options, you can do it automatically just by importing from those DITA val files. So keep that in mind. So to publish our user manual, we will go to the DITA Maps Manager and click on the Configure Transformation Scenario button. oXygen has this concept of a transformation scenario, which is basically just a configuration for a particular output. In our case, let's say that we want to publish into PDF. So we'll duplicate the existing scenario. Let's say this one is for the X2000, and let's change the output directory. And very important, on the Filters tab, we will select the DITA val files that you've seen before. So that's how we ensure that in this publication only the content for the X2000 model will be included. Okay, and let's create another scenario for the X1000 model. And on the filters, we could either specify a DITA val file, or we can just select one of the profiling condition sets that we've configured previously, like so. Okay, and now we can publish both of our user manuals with just one click. So let's click Apply Transformation. Oops. So apparently I specified the wrong DITA val file. So this is the PDF for my X1000 model, and please notice that the Bluetooth feature is not present in the contents, and if we go to the insert the SIM card procedure, you will notice the light image that belongs to the X1000 model. And let's also fix our transformation for the X2000 model. So the error was that I've used the wrong DITA val file, which is strange, but let me, yep, I renamed a bit the resources in my project. Never do that before a webinar. So let's transform it again. And here is the PDF version of our user manual for the X2000 model. So this time we have the Bluetooth feature inside the table of contents, and if we go to the feature about how to insert the SIM card, you will notice the dark color image belonging to the X2000 phone model. Now, another thing to consider while working with conditional content is that you have to be very careful while profiling your content. For example, let's assume that the ability to connect to a wireless headset, it's only available for my X3000 model. So I will just mark it for as being available for the X3000 model, click OK, and apparently everything is good, but in fact it isn't, because the parent topic, the Bluetooth, is being profiled as being available only for the X2000. So when I will publish my data map for the X3000, this entire section won't appear at all. The idea is that you can protect against these kind of situations by using the validate and check for completeness action from the data maps manager. And in it, you can enable the identify possible conflicts in profile attribute values. And if you click check, you'll see that it has detected exactly this problem that I've introduced in my map. It says that the condition X3000 set on the product attribute can never be effective because it is not present in the list of conditions from the ancestors. Let's solve this problem by marking the Bluetooth as being available for the X3000 too. Click OK, save the map, and let's check again. And this time the validation is successful, as you can see from this this message on the bottom of oXygen. Yes, so just a short reminder of what we've seen so far. So we've seen how to define the profiling attributes, how you can understand which content is profiled and for which models by using the show profiling attributes action or the profiling colors and styles. We've created profiling condition sets and we've used them to both when editing to focus on a particular model and when publishing. We've also achieved conditional publishing by obtaining the user manual for both of our models, and we've also seen how the validate and check for completeness action can help you detect problems introduced by bad conditional content, by problems with profiling. Now, let's assume that my models can be expressed using this taxonomy. So I have my feature phones, my dumb phones, currently just X1000, and I have my smartphones with the X2000 and the X3000 models. And being able to use this taxonomy would prove useful because I would be able to more easily mark common features. Future models, like this one over here, plugged into the right category would automatically get the right features. In DITA, such a taxonomy can be expressed by using a subject scheme. Also, something new that was added in DITA 1.2. I have such a taxonomy, such a subject scheme already created. This is how the subject scheme looks in the author mode. And basically, I'm binding the product attribute that I use for profiling to a subject definition. And this subject definition is basically my taxonomy. So the smartphone category with its children and the feature and category and so on. Another thing that I can do in the subject scheme is that I can forbid the use of certain profiling attributes. For example, by binding the platform profiling attribute to an empty subject definition, I can ensure that this profiling attribute won't be accidentally used by my authors. Now, to plug this subject scheme into our map, we will go to the Data Maps Manager and select the Map Reference action. We'll select the subject scheme, and very important, on the Attributes tab, we'll say that it is a subject scheme on the type. we insert it, and you'll notice that an entry has appeared here in the, in the DITA map. And now let's see what benefits this subject scheme brings. So first of all, I can profile my Bluetooth feature and mark it as being available for all of my smartphones, like so. Next, if I validate and check for completeness my map, like so, I'll notice that there are two errors being reported. The first one, it's about the platform attribute. So apparently someone has accidentally used the platform attribute to mark a short description. So this is it's wrong in my documentation. My subject scheme forbids that. So I'll remove. And the next problem is that, again, maybe accidentally, someone marked this particular step for a non-existing product, the X500, the 5000, sorry. So again, let's edit the profiling attributes. You see here this little asterisk. It's a hint that this value was found in the document, but it's not one of the allowed values. Let's put a correct value here. Let's save the topic. And now if we validate and check for completeness again, you'll notice that there are no more errors. So my map is again complete. Now, another way we can use the subject scheme taxonomy is when we write DITA val file. So for example, inside the DITA val file, if I want to publish for the X1000 model, I can say that for this model, it should exclude all content that is being profiled with a product attribute as belonging only to a smartphone. So the values from the subject scheme, from the taxonomy, I can use them in the DITA val file. So let's publish for the X1000 using this kind of a DITA val file. So it's for the X1000. We'll edit it. For the filter, we will select this one. We apply the transformation, and let's see if the right content will be included in the user manual. Right, so this please remember that this is the user manual for the X1000 model, and it should contain no Bluetooth, and it doesn't. And also the procedure about inserting the SIM card. It should have this light image that belongs to the X1000 model. So the DITA val file functioned correctly. Now, returning to our topic about how to insert a SIM card into our phone. Let's assume that my other model, the X3000, the placeholder for the SIM card changed for that version 2. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I have to insert a new image here, and I have to profile it accordingly. And if it's just one place in which I have to perform this change, then that's not really a big deal. But imagine if I have to do this in 100 places. That's no more fun. And of course, DITA had mechanism for protecting against this kind of situations, like using topic warehouses. But DITA 1.2 has a more elegant way of resolving this issue, and that's by using indirection, meaning keys. So a key is an indirect addressing mechanism that allows authors to create references to things without having to know where or what those things are and where will they be in the future. And how you do things in a topic when you want to refer a resource. You don't refer it directly by its path, but instead you specify a key name, and that key name will be resolved in the context of a map, because in that map there is a key definition, and the key name will be resolved to the actual location of the resource. So keys can avoid the need for multiple conditional elements. In our case, the image element. So here is how we can use keys to solve this problem. We will define a route map for each of our phone models, the X1000 and the X2000. And in each of these maps, we will define the same key but bind it to different images, to different resources. These two maps will include our common map, and whenever we want to make a reference to that image inside a topic, a common topic, we will use the key that we've defined. So let's go to oXygen and let's create this architecture. So let's open the mobile phone data map too. So I'll create a new map. I'll save it. This is the X2000 map. I will add a reference to my common map, like so, and I will add a key definition. Let's call the key insert sim, and the target for that key is the image that is relevant for the X2000 model. We insert it, and I have a similar map already created for the X1000 model, and it has a similar key definition, the same name but bound to a different resource, right? Now, to use this key, we'll concentrate on the editing area. Let's remove these two image elements, profiled differently, and from the toolbar, let's invoke the insert reference to an image action. But instead of directly giving the URL to the image, we will click on this button to choose a key, and we select this key that we've just defined. And if we want, we can also set another properties on our table and click Insert. And now you see the dark image that belongs to my X2000 model. If I change the selected map inside the DITA Maps Manager to the X1000, you'll notice that the image reference, the image automatically updates and presents me the one for the X1000 model. And this brings in another interesting concept, that of a route map. So when collecting keys, oXygen starts from a route map and then passes through the entire hierarchy of that map, through all the submaps, and collects all the keys defined in those maps and builds a key space, which basically it's an enumeration with all the available keys. And by default, when collecting the keys, oXygen considers the root map to be the current selected map inside the DITA Maps Manager. And if you have a big DITA map hierarchy, then you might find yourself in the situation when you work inside a submap and you'll start noticing these errors that the key is not found. And if you want to insert a new key reference, you'll see no keys, or perhaps not the key that you were looking for. And like I said, this happens because the current selected map is considered to be the root map and is used to build the key space. And what you should do in these situations is to go on top of the DITA Maps Manager here inside the root map combo and select a root map, impose a root map. And from now on, whenever computing the key space, oXygen will start from this root map. See, in this case the X2000, and if I change it to X1000 DITA map, then the image automatically updates. Right, so another hypothetically problem in my user guide, let's assume that the procedures for removing the battery and inserting the battery have changed completely between my two models. And let's solve this problem by using keys. So for that, we will go to our root map for the X2000 model, and again from the contextual menu we'll insert a key definition for insert, let's call it insert battery, and the target is the task about how to insert the battery. And let's insert another key definition, remove battery, let's call it, and it's targeted to the remove battery task. Right, so I have two more keys defined, and inside the X1000 DITA maps I have the same two keys. So now let's use these keys, and instead of the content reference ranges that we've previously created, let's create some content references ranges based on keys. So this kind of content references differ from the original ones by the fact that, again, you're not directly specifying the target topic, but you specify a key name, and in the context of the map that key name will be mapped, will be resolved to the actual target topic. So let's return to oXygen. Let's remove this step, and we'll go again to the reuse content action, but instead of giving the direct path to the topic, we will select the key option, and we will browse and select the key about how to that maps to the topic about how to remove the battery. Again, the key is resolved to the actual topic, and I'm presented with the elements that I can reuse. I'll make a selection and just insert the reference, and I'll do the same for the steps about how to put the battery back on. So I'll use the key insert battery this time. I'll select the steps and insert them. Right. So at the first glance nothing changed, but look what happens if I change the root map the references automatically change. Now I have these dark images that are appropriate for my X2000 model, right? So the references, the keys are automatically mapped to different target topics. And the way you can achieve conditional publishing when using keys is very simple, because you just publish your route map, either X2000 if I want to publish my user manual for the X2000 model, or X1000 for my other model, and so on. Another use case for keys is to define variables. For example, in my user manual, the most used variable is the phone name. So let's use keys to define such a variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define the phone name key and bind it to different text in my two route maps. Again, in a common topic, whenever I want to write the name of my phone, I will just refer this particular key name. So let's go to oXygen and do just that. Again, in the X2000 route map, I will append a key definition with keyword this time. So it's a simpler version. So the name is phone name, and it should expand to X2000 text, and we insert it. And again, I have the same key definition in my other map, but this time mapped to the X1000 value. Whenever I want to say the name of my phone inside my topic, I will use the same action from the toolbar, the reuse content, and I'll just select the phone name key and insert it. And now it says make sure that your X2000 phone is turned off, but when I change the route map to the X1000, it will say make sure that your X1000 phone is turned off. Right, so one last thing that I want to mention is that I did say that keys can avoid the need for multiple conditional elements, but you can still use them together. For example, if you have just one map, you will, to achieve our previous goal of defining a variable for the phone name, you will create two definitions for the same key and control which one is active by profiling these definitions differently. So for example, this definition for the phone name that maps to the X1000 string will only be active when I'm publishing for the X1000 model. And this other one, the same key but a different text, will be activated when I'm publishing for my X2000 model, and so on. So there are different ways that you can achieve your goals. It all depends on what architecture you choose for your documentation. And with that, just a short reminder of the things we saw in the last part of this webinar. So we've seen how to control the values for the profiling attributes by using a subject scheme and what other benefits the subject scheme brings. We've seen what indirection means and how you can use it to create references and content references, how you can achieve conditional publishing just through indirection. And we've also introduced the concepts of a route map and a key space, and how those affect you while working in oXygen. And with that, thank you for attending this webinar. I hope that I've presented some interesting things, maybe given you some ideas of how to improve the documentation, the content inside your organizations. Thank you again, and if you have any questions, I'm here and my colleagues are too.
Thank you, Alex. We did receive quite a good number of questions, and let's go through some of them. First question was if we can discuss the benefits of conkeyref over conref. And I think that Alex covered many of these. Basically, using keys allow you to decouple the reference from the actual topic. So you have this indirection mechanism that allows you to just point to the key rather than to a specific topic. And in a different context, that key can be redefined to point to something else. Or in case you make changes to that topic, for instance, you rename that topic, then you only need to change the key definition once, and all the references will still point to the correct topic. Another use case is in case when you have a topic used multiple times in the same map, and you want to link to that topic. For example, you cannot link generically to that topic because you will not know exactly in which place in your map or in your published output that link will go, right? So with the keys you can define different keys for each reference in the map, and then you can control the link to go to a specific use of that topic rather than to generically point to that topic. I don't know, hopefully we covered most of the use cases. Otherwise, please feel free to send a follow-up question to focus on a specific other specific use. How can you insert a reference to content that has no ID? For example, a sentence that is used many times. Would it be a good idea to create an element around that sentence to generate an ID? And the answer is you cannot make a reference to just text, to content. You can make references only to elements that have an ID set on them. And usually, if you have only some text, you can wrap that into a PH element, which is kind of neutral element from this point of view, and set an ID on that element. And the oXygen, in oXygen we have an action that allows you to set an ID on an element or on a selection. And if you select some text, I think that action will automatically generate the PH element around that content. You can also set up oXygen to automatically generate IDs for certain elements. So there's an option that allows you to control, and Alex can show you that within the DITA menu, I think. It's generate ID options, and here you can specify for which elements oXygen will automatically generate IDs. So you can have this ready for use. How can I edit a reference if it is in a table row? And in general, referred content is read-only in a topic because it's just a reference to the actual content, and it's not directly editable there. We provide an edit reference action which also has a shortcut, and if you use that, maybe you can click on that, Alex, and to see what happens. oXygen will go automatically to that topic and allow you to make changes to that content. So you can just invoke the Control R or Command R on a Mac to immediately edit that referred content if you need to. We use specific IDs in our content. I'm guessing that the topic range reuse doesn't work in that case. Well, conref ranges work by allowing you to reuse all the content between two sibling elements. So as long as you have IDs on two sibling elements, you can specify I want to start reusing from this element and identify that with its ID up until and including the last element that you want to reuse. So for instance, if you have a number of steps and each step has an ID on it, as Alex presented, then you can reuse any range from those steps just by specifying the start and the end IDs. Can I use attributes other than product, audience, platform, props, and other props to profile elements? Can I make my own attributes? DITA allows to define additional attributes through specialization. So basically, you cannot use other attributes with the default topic types. But if you specialize, then you can define your own profiling attributes, basically, and use them. It was a follow-up question for the reuse of text. What element do you recommend? PH. And yes, that's a good choice for wrapping some text and being able to reuse that, but it's not something that is not something that is recommended to do. I mean, when you plan to reuse content, it's not ideal to reuse content from any topic in any topic. It's always better to think about that and try to organize the content to be reused, maybe place that within a separate submap in your DITA map, and and also have those topics maybe in a specific folder when you organize your project. That will help managing or keeping track of what is reused, where it's reused, and so on. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult to if you reuse arbitrary text from any topic in any other topic, you may get into difficult situations at some point. I see that you are using the product attribute. I'm hoping that we can use these profiling features for other props attribute as well. Yes, other props attribute will work as well, and audience or other profiling attributes. From the oXygen point of view, you can define any number of attributes as profiling attributes and use them. Does the DITA val file need to be within the map? And the answer is no. The DITA map, the DITA val file, the filter file, is outside of the map. It's specified for the transformation. So when you define a deliverable, basically for DITA, you have a root map and a filter, and that defines a deliverable, a pair of a root map and a filter file. Now in DITA 1.3, there's a new functionality called branch filtering, which allows you to specify a filter for a specific branch of your map. So that filter will be dynamically applied. So a map will allow to dynamically apply different filters on different branches. One of the follow-up webinars that we have will cover DITA 1.3 functionality and how oXygen supports that. So we should be able to talk more about that later on. Okay. Is it possible to profile based on prolog metadata audience element like attribute experience level equals novice general expert? And the answer is no. DITA doesn't work in this way. I think the metadata audience is more for additional processing to identify target audience for that topic, may be used for searches or other functionality, but not related to filtering or profiling. If I use the include property in the DITA-val file, does it mean that nothing else than the profiled element will be shown in the output? For example, if I include product equal A, and the answer is that by default a filter will include everything. So just including another value for a product will not do anything else. So you need to add an exclude and exclude all values, and then include specific values that you want in the output. Is there a possibility to only publish elements which I marked with a specific attribute without tagging all the elements of the map? So if I understand this correctly, it means that you want in the published output only the elements which are marked with a specific value, but that is not possible. I mean, in the sense that all the elements which do not have or do not inherit profiling value will always be visible. They will not be excluded from the output. Is there any way I could publish only a few elements in my map? And the answer is that that's not possible through unless you define a map which includes only the topics or the elements that you want to publish. So you can define another map and specify which topics you want to keep in that publication. Where can I get a recording of this session? As we mentioned, this webinar is recorded, and the recording will be available either on the oXygen XML YouTube channel or also on our website. We have an events page, and in the past events there will be an entry for this event which will contain the recording as well as the slides and other useful information. In a content management system, what is the best way to manage DITA-val files? In a folder at the topmost level, or in multiple folders in each topic? Um, and I guess if you are using a CMS, I guess they already considered this problem, and maybe they can provide some best practice on how to do that with respect to their product. But you can just place all the filters maybe in a folder, uh, and so you can easily identify them, rather than being together with maps or topics. Ideally, I think for DITA there is something missing, like a project definition file. As I mentioned, a deliverable basically is defined by a route map and the filter. So it will be quite interesting to be able to define a DITA project as a set of such pairs that will define here's the route map and the filter, here's the route map and the filter, and so on. That will be quite useful. Thanks, good work. When trying to publish a single topic, if you have variables in that topic, how can you resolve the keys when trying to run a single publish? Well, as Alex also mentioned, keys are defined in a map. So without a map, you cannot have a definition for the keys. So in order to be able to resolve a key, you need a map as the context for publishing. Another question about whether the recording will be available. Yes, some of you want to view this again. Alex, there are quite a lot of things presented, so it will be good, yes, to go again through the session and see all the examples Alex presented. When trying to publish a submap for review, the variables don't show up in the output even if the route map selected as the high-level map contains their definition. How can we ensure that variables are resolved when transforming to PDF, for example? Well, oXygen uses the DITA Open Toolkit for publishing, and there is no, as far as I know, there is no support in DITA Open Toolkit to say, here's the context map, but start publishing from this map, right? So I guess the only way you can achieve that will be maybe to generate a map that contains the key definitions only and includes the map that you want to publish, and use that as the map that you publish to PDF or some other format. A question for directly to Alex. How the author chooses what type of indirection to use in each particular case. Are there any criteria? Well, I think if you have a key defined for, so I'll take it. I don't mind.
Sure, I don't mind.
If someone already defined a key for that topic, then of course it will be better to use that key rather than referring the exact system ID or the exact reference to that specific topic. So if you have a key, it will always be recommended to use that key rather than directly referring a topic. And usually the best practice will say always use keys, but in reality, I guess projects may be in using a mixture between keys and direct references in a transition phase to the best practice when they should always use keys. Yes, so a confirmation that in order to publish a submap, uh, 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 the way to do that is to define a new map with a key definition and a reference to that map, but it is indeed not ideal. So that may be a feature request for the DITA Open Toolkit, maybe, to provide this kind of in-context transformation, maybe also for a topic, or you can just say, this is the root map, but I want to transform only this topic, or this is the root map, but I want to transform only this submap. Someone liked the ID setting that allows to automatically generate IDs. Very useful, very valuable. I have also another question, but I do not know the answer to this. Maybe my colleague Radu can help. We have a situation where content goes in for version A, stays for version B, C, D, and E, and then comes out for version F. Would we have to tag that content for each version that it is in? Or is there a way to tag content as going out? Radu?
As I answered in private to the question, in a DITA val file you can exclude all values for a certain attribute and only include a certain value for the attribute. But this question was more like if I have elements which are not tagged in any way, can they be filtered in the output? And the answer is no for this, because you need to tag all the elements in order to control in the DITA val file if they should get excluded or not.
We want to find more about your plans to use DITA 1.3. If you already use it in production, if you just used it for to experiment in a pilot project, or you plan to use it, or maybe you do not have any plans, but you just want to learn more about that, or none of the above in case you maybe DITA 1.2 or is enough or more than enough for what you're trying to do. I see that most of you already voted, so let's see the results. Oh, surprising a large number of you are using already DITA 1.3 and close to 40% plan to use DITA 1.3. And also a third want to know more about that. And as I mentioned earlier, we plan a few additional webinars in the DITA series. The next one will cover publishing, DITA publishing, and after that we have a webinar dedicated to DITA 1.3 support, and I will send you the link to that webinar so you can register for that. It's called Ready for DITA 1.3, and it will be Let me see. I think we scheduled that for September the 8th. So we hope you can join us and find out more about what DITA 1.3 offers and how oXygen supports you to use that. I think we are we still got another question. Is it possible to export a list of the keys from a key space? Well, we have a data metrics report in oXygen that computes, it's basically an XSLT style sheet that computes the key space. So I guess that if you look into that, you can, just generate a report with all the key definitions. And that may be an interesting addition to that data metrics report to generate this this kind of section in that report with all the keys and the values those keys are bind to. So I see no more questions. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you can join us also in the future. Alex, can you go to the events page maybe?
Just a second.
Where on the oXygen XML website. So here under company, you have this events page, and if you scroll down, you can see the following webinars, including the DITA publishing with oXygen XML Editor. Again, the DITA 1.3 webinar link is on the chat window in the Go to Webinar panel. So hopefully you can join us also in the future. Thank you again. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Radu, and also my colleagues that helped us respond to your questions. So, goodbye and see you next time.
Thank you all for coming. Goodbye.